the second part of this series, we break down the industry, characterize the infrastructure, as well as highlight the loopholes that have created what is now a sensitive and panicky sector. On the trail of liquid gold, today starts off right at the tendering process.
All the 52 companies are invited to participate in any tender for any of those products.
But only about 5 of those marketers have the financial capacity to handle large volumes, amid claims that some marketers are favoured. Gulf Energy is among those that are said to have been favoured in several areas. Now, what on the industry and market grapevine is that Gulf Energy is associated with some influential people in the government or in the political system, and sometimes these people have bent some of the rules for Gulf Energy. Could you tell us about that?
We have absolutely no ownership by anybody who is in government or who is in politics in this country. This company is owned majority by Middle East-based investors who have actually invested in this country in Gulf African Bank downstairs and a few other investments. These are world-class investors.
Part of the allegations include claims that National Oil could be outsourcing its obligations to Gulf Energy. While Gulf MD Francis Njogu insists that this stock is a product of bad competition, other players say that some bigger players need to be honest about why they're staying out of the otherwise lucrative tendering process.
When you look at that shipment which came in of Gulf, MT Abraham with I don't know, 20-something thousand tons. If you look at it, a company like Kobil did not participate in that tender.
After the tendering process, the importation begins, where the crude is now shipped to Mombasa. The port is the first in-house infrastructure wholly owned by the government.
Any government, any country that does not invest in infrastructure, the development of its infrastructure will not survive.
Kenya Petroleum Refinery receives the crude oil at the main refinery in Changamwe, which is 50% owned by the government and the other half by Indian firm Essa.
The refinery should have been shut down centuries ago.
So the government has got to decide what they want, right? And not say that we are going to keep the refinery, but you have to reduce prices on the pump. It's not possible.
All players agree that there must be an overhaul of KPRL.
We put up the pipeline from Nairobi to Mombasa in 1973. It's not been replaced, it's not been expanded. We don't feel like putting investments. We put up a refinery in 1961. We are not pumping in a penny.
Does the current state of the infrastructure point out to a lack of government's failure to prioritize this key infrastructure?
When you talk of energy, the priority is normally given to electricity, but not to petroleum. Yet petroleum accounts for the biggest demand in terms of primary energy, 22%.
Last week, the government announced plans to turn KPRL into a merchant refinery to enable it buy and process its own crude and sell to marketers. But in its current state, it seems to be inadequate.
Then also means that they would have to be as competitive as the other refineries around the world.
The Kenya pipeline then takes over refined products for storage, where it charges $3 per cubic meter of product. But it is in the transportation process that KPC makes a killing, perhaps a reason why the government is strongly holding on to its 100% shareholding. But Colonel Kobil believes that the ullage or storage space for product is unfairly allocated.
Others are speculating, but those others, they don't have the investment, the hundreds of millions of dollars that Colonel Kobil and the like of Colonel Kobil invested in the local market. They are just a briefcase. They are just holding a briefcase, and they are able to get their PMS into the tanks, and we are being locked out.
Gulf Energy disagrees, saying market share is a relative component. Ullage is allocated according to market share and distribution capacity. So is there a loophole that allows this to happen?
Now, based on this capacity of the ship, what may happen, at least in the past, what used to happen is if the capacity of the ship is 50,000 tons and the tender is for 40,000 tons, then you would want to maximize on the freight cost and put in the extra 10,000 as private cargo.
Another controversy now brews, with a letter in our possession showing concern by some marketers about ullage allocated to a firm called Black Gold. Its identity is, however, a mystery. Now, industry players say Kenyans today have to pay about 18 shillings more per litre of fuel due to the current infrastructure conditions, meaning that if the infrastructure was as efficient as it should be, we would be paying about 97 shillings per litre of fuel at the pump, all external factors withstanding. Tomorrow, we'll look at some of the coping mechanisms that both the government as well as private sector players are taking in order to ease the load as well as maximize on profits. That's tomorrow on In the Trail of Liquid Gold, only on Citizen Business. I am Terryanne Chebet. Goodbye.